So we got Kaz, Anna, and Ben here. Woo! So excited. Oh, hello. Amazing. So welcome to my lounge room. We're going to try and get comfortable here. We're going to have some conversations. Now, all of this month, we've been talking about living out your faith. What are some of the things that you can do at school? Maybe start a lunchtime group. Start praying for your school. Gather a few people together. Last week we had BK saying, every single one of you have an influence. Every single one of you have an influence. And how are you going to use it? How are you going to use it in your time here at school? So first question I want to shoot to Anna.
Sure.
Anna, what school did you go to?
Glen Waverley Secondary College. Any Glennies in the house? Yeah. Nice.
Woo, super. So Anna, your time at school, I probably won't say how many years it's been. No, I'm kidding.
Let's keep on the DL.
So can you share a little bit about your time at high school and how faith looked like?
Sure. So I think the first few years of high school, about year 7 to 9, wasn't super open with what went on. I'd tell my close friends that I went to youth, but not much else than that. And then when I was in year 10, I got invited to a lunchtime group, and it was being run by some of the year 11s and 12s, and I knew them. So I started going along to that and just became more and more involved. So some of the things that we did, some of them like outreach events that we did were an EXO day, which was, it kind of stands for like EXO, like love. And we just ran it for the seniors in our school to run games, give them prizes, and just show them that we love them and that they could have fun while still being in a stressful time of their lives. We also did See You at the Pole, where we would gather around the flagpole once every few months to pray and to worship and just commit our school to God and let Him do what He wanted with it. Other than that, we would meet every Tuesday in one of the classrooms, in the S rooms, and we would spend some time in worship. People would organise discussion for us, and we just hang out together.
So you mentioned like towards the senior years you got involved. That's kind of when crunch time. I know like going to Glen Waverley, like really highly academic, year 12. Why did you choose to do that?
I think that I knew that God had to have a place in school. It couldn't just be a home thing. It couldn't just be a Friday night thing, which are all well and good. But to bring God and having a special time and place to worship Him and be in His presence and spend time in fellowship with my friends, I realised that that was very important, and I wanted to honour that.
That's cool. That's cool. So how about you, Kaz? What school did you go to?
Dunbar Christian College.
Ooh. Oh, louder cheer. Obviously winning. So, same question. What was faith like at school when you were at school? How does that look like?
During the younger years, there were a few lunchtime groups and stuff going on. And I attended that with my friends, but like senior school, they just kind of started dropping off, like people wouldn't commit to them. And so start of year 12, me and a friend were like, well, year 12 is our last year. Let's actually sow some seeds and make it worthwhile. So we're like, 2 people's enough. Let's just start praying for opportunities. So we found like this random staircase above the toilets, and we just like went there at lunchtime and prayed. And that's how it started. And then from that, we started a girls' lunchtime group. So just a space where we could come and be real and authentic with one another and bring like stuff that we were dealing with. We did stuff like Bible studies, did worship, prayer, a bit of like journaling and stuff. And that went really well. It was where like girls, we could come together as one and seek out our faith together. And then on top of that, during the last 2.5 months of year 12, me and there was a group of 5 of us, and we're like, hey, like let's actually like honour God in this school and just lift it up to Him while we still are at school. So the last 2.5 months we went to school at 7:30 a.m. every morning till 8:30, and we did prayer and worship together. And it was more of like an intercessory thing rather than an outreach. But we just prayed for our school, for our teachers, our peers, and the families of those at the school.
That's cool. It kind of sounded like it's easy, like everything kind of went well, you know, you got people coming to prayer group. Was it easy?
No, not always. So some challenges were like at the start, like, oh, there's only 2 of us. What can we do? Like, what kind of impact can we have? We're only like 2 girls. What the heck are we going to do? And also like staying committed when we actually started the groups, being like, oh, like I'd rather, you know, hang out with my friends on the Oval than like going to this group, and like the doubts of, oh, what if people don't actually want to come, or what if it's just us 2, like, and it's just us 2 for the whole year. So those kind of challenges came up, and just kind of had to give it to God and trust the process that He had it all in His hands.
That's cool. Awesome. I'm going to jump to Ben. Now, Ben, you're a chaplain at Forest Hill College.
I am.
Any Forest Hill around here? Yeah, yeah.
Come on.
Amazing. Some graduates, sorry.
I didn't even have to call on them either.
Yeah.
So does that put us above Donvale?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Pretty
know.
good
Donville
cheerers,
was pretty loud before.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Not sure.
Play on.
A few questions came in over Instagram, and just asking about how do you start a lunchtime group? What are some of the do's, the don'ts? You know, how do you get it started?
Excellent question on Instagram. So a lunchtime group, someone like BK who spoke here last week, running a group like Mustard, is a really structured, formal way to run a lunchtime group. So they give you the resources to be able to take it, and sort of tell you, like they give you plans that you can work through. So you might have a group of friends that are keen to explore some of the Bible, or keen to explore what it is to be a Christian, or keen to explore faith in general. And you might say to yourself, I'm not exactly sure what to go through. Something like Mustard can give you the tools for that. But I guess the beauty of a lunchtime group is that it can be as unstructured as you want it to be. So really, you could start a lunchtime group with just the friends that are in your current circle. And you might say, I want to get intentional. Hey guys, how about, do you want to sort of talk through some stuff once a week? Could be out in the middle of the canteen if you guys have like a cafeteria space you can sit around. Centre of the Oval, if you got like a cricket pitch or a footy oval, wherever people hang out, could be where your lunchtime group is. So it can be as unstructured as that, in which case no one even needs to know really. But if you want to go, we're going to do something that runs, you know, in this certain classroom every week on a certain day, then it might be really helpful to get teachers involved, maybe talk to your principal or something to be able to say, look, can we book that room? Can the room be unlocked for us? And we can do a bit more of a structured thing. So in which case, I would recommend finding you've all got those teachers, I reckon, that you get on really well with, right? So that's probably a good in to say, yeah, that maths teacher that like never gets us in trouble, that year level leader that seems to be really on my team, it's really great to get a teacher involved. So if you want to run it in a really structured way, then a teacher is an awesome way to go, just to let them know you're keen to get something going.
Amazing. So there are many other ways, many ways to do it. Like can be structured, can be unstructured.
Can look like anything, yeah.
Yep. So a question around that to all of you, I guess, what do you do during groups? What did you do? What worked? What kind of didn't work?
We would do like a bit of a roster. So one person would lead each week, and we'd just say, yeah, you're leading this week and you're leading next week. And they could sort of decide what happens. So some people chose to spend a lot of time in prayer and worship. Other people chose to have a focused discussion. A lot of us were more senior, so we would often talk about topics that were concerning us, like how to balance study and going to church, or whatever might have been in the news at the moment, or something like that. Yeah.
What about you, Kaz?
Similar, like when we first started, we kind of just had it like an open discussion, and very quickly it was just silent. And no one would talk, so we kind of like had to be like, okay, well, we're actually going to have to, someone's going to have to lead this. So similar, we do rotations, people leading each week and just choosing what they wanted to do in the space.
Yep. No, that's cool. That's cool. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. Like it can kind of look like anything. It can, it doesn't have to be all serious, isn't it? Yeah, like can be some serious, some fun, some open discussion. Those are some of the things that you can do. Now, and I guess you kind of mentioned that both of you, when you were in year 12, that you got really into it. You lead the group. So what happens after year 12? Like, how do you sort of keep the group running, or what did you see, after you graduate?
So more so for the prayer group that we started in the morning. It started with like 5 year 12s, but just through word of mouth and people lining up outside the classroom, kind of spread to the younger year levels. And so when it was coming towards the end, we kind of had to take charge and actually build up the leaders who would lead it when we left. Because if we left and there were like no other year levels in there, it was just going to die out. And yeah, to this day, I reached out to one of the people that are still there. And they say that people still come, even if it's like 2 people morning, people are still coming and doing the prayer group in the morning.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's still going on right now. Wow. Amazing.
I was hoping to go first because I don't know if my story is a success story.
No. We're honest here. We're being real.
Absolutely. So we struggled to sort of keep the group going. So what actually ended up happening is we knew a couple of the people in year 11 who were also Christian. And one week towards the end of the year, we were like, hey guys, do you want to join our lunchtime group? So they came along, but we knew that it was time pressured. So we actually asked them on their first time coming to our lunchtime group, do you guys want to lead this next year? So they were happy to take it on, but unfortunately it didn't really keep up the momentum. But that's okay, because I think I later on heard that there had been another lunchtime group running with a different church circle, and our group ended up joining their group. So yay, united people. But the thing that gives me a lot of encouragement is hearing you guys out in the crowd who go to Glennie now, and like you can leave a legacy when you are in school, and you can keep that going. So
amazing. Yeah. So good. Now, moving to, I guess, a broader topic, not just lunchtime group, but just having conversations about faith with your friends at school. How do you go about that? Some people might be like, oh, it's really scary. I know when I was in school, it was pretty scary. It was pretty daunting. Or I don't know what to say, or what if I tank and I bomb and like I gave Jesus a bad name? That kind of thought kind of ran through my mind. Kaz, what are some suggestions, I guess? How do you do it?
From my own experience, I have a few points. Number one would be to pray and deepen your faith by yourselves first, because if you want to have a conversation about Jesus, you have to know him, and you have to, know what he's like and his character. So yeah, number one, deepen your faith by yourself. Number two, I heard this quote by someone, Francis of Assisi, and it says, preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words. And it's kind of just, like, are you walking out your faith at school? Are you being like Jesus to your friends? And just, building that trust with the people around you and those ones or twos that you have. Because building that trust, they're actually going to come to you with things, and you can actually bring about Jesus in those conversations. And actually talking about it, from my experience, just like bringing up conversations of like, oh, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, I went to church and they talked about this, like this topic. What do you believe about that? Or like, do you have certain beliefs? What are your passions? Just conversations like that. And from experience as well, when you have friends that may be going through things or struggling with stuff, and they come to you and just like load it off onto you, I see that as an opportunity to go, well, I believe in Jesus, and I believe that he hears our prayers. Would you mind if I pray for you? And I see that as a good opportunity to bring Jesus about into those conversations. Yeah.
That's really cool. So just kind of like coming alongside them and just maybe, I guess, in a sense, building that relationship first, isn't it? Like, I'm interested to be your friend. I'm not just here to, make you a Christian, and just come and serve them in that way. That's really cool. And Ben, I think you had a story as well. Like when you were in high school, you kind of have this kind of faith, and then when you're out of school, you have a more active kind of faith. Can you speak into that?
Yes. I'm trying to remember what the story was now, Jess.
Oh.
So I went in my sort of senior years of high school to a Christian school, Flinders Christian College, and there was a group that ran there that was like the year 12s running a lunchtime group for the year 7s. So it was a bit sort of intentional like that, at almost having a bit of a buddy feel. So it wasn't for everybody. And I remember that it very much felt like we were going there to run a program for the youngsters. And I think if I had my time again, I would have focused my energy on running something that I myself as well would have liked to be a part of. So running a Christian group and like putting on the leader hat before we were any good at doing that, it probably was pretty boring, like what we were doing with the youngsters. And my idea was kind of like make it feel a bit like Sunday school felt. But I know that frequently Jesus and the gospel message crosses the bridge of relationship. And so if I had a focus on relationship by saying, there's a bunch of year 7s that are going to come into this room today, I'm going to make sure they feel really welcome, they have fun, they get a really good experience of us year 12s, they feel supported, build relationship with them, I want to learn their name, I want to get alongside them. And that tended to be where I have found speaking about Jesus has worked in my friendship circles, is because I already have a relationship with them. They've seen the way that I live. They've seen that where they might make sort of snap decisions and, whatever the topic might be, I might have, like you guys have spoken about things in youth group, like what stance you want to have on relationships or sex or some of those sort of big topics that some of my friends hadn't really thought through or hadn't really thought there might be a reason why I shouldn't do certain things. They were just kind of living on a whim. And so because I had a friendship with them already, they saw that I had sort of thought some stuff through, so they could ask some questions of me. And then in a more intentional, I guess, way, to be able to say to my closer mates or to other people that I know, would you ever be interested in checking out the Bible with me? And that can be a really daunting question. Or would you ever be keen for me to pray for you? Or would you mind if I prayed, or I am praying for you? To be able to let them know that there is a step that they can take, or there is something going on in maybe a deeper zone, like a spiritual zone in my life that they might be interested in. So just opening up the conversation and trying to find a way to make that seem casual and not super spooky for them.
So you said a really good, Jesus crosses the bridge of relationship?
Yeah.
Is that, yep.
Yeah.
That's a really good really good image, that you got to build the bridge first, build the relationship first. And then the message of Jesus came across. What was it like the first time you asked someone, hey, would you like to read the Bible with me?
I was purposeful in who I asked that to the first time, and I knew that they would be interested. And so they were like, yeah, I'd be really keen to check that out. What I didn't expect was that they knew that there were other people that would also be keen that I wasn't aware of. And so when I asked that one person, there ended up being, I think, 5 of us in the room when we first did it, at a basketball practice in the change room beforehand. So that was really cool. So even what I thought I had control of, I was like, I don't want to step too far out of my comfort zone. Yep. All of a sudden, we had a group, and I hadn't anticipated that, so that was kind of cool.
Amazing. That's so cool. That's a great first story, isn't it? Like, and yeah, as you say, like you don't have to pick like the hardest person to ask for, and just pick the one that you know.
Who's your one? You might say.
Who's your one? That's right. Thanks, Ben. Who's your one? Who's your one who's like most likely to say yes to you? Who's most likely to say yes for a prayer or for reading the Bible? That's amazing. So, last question to Anna. Sometimes, we know in life, we don't always get a result immediately. Some of the things that we do now, you may think that is a flop because nothing came out of it. But then, who knows, over the years, it might pay off. So, can you share a story around that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So in high school, I had a friend, let's call her May. We weren't super close. She was a bit of a floater, had her own group of friends, but I was at her 18th birthday, so yeah, that's good. After high school finished, we'd catch up maybe once every 2 years, just talk about life, and then that'd be it for another 2 years. Until last year, where kind of towards the end of the year, I got a message from her just out of the blue. And I'm actually going to read it to you because I want you to know that I'm not making this up. So her words were, she's like, hey, she popped into my mind a little bit over the past few months. I've been kind of thinking that maybe I want to learn more about Christianity and God and church. I think I'm feeling a little lost, and it seems like a really good place for guidance and having a path and following good teachings. And I think I just have a lot of questions that I think the church might be helpful with. She goes on to talk about how she had a faith she was Hindu, and her parents had taught her some things. So she just seemed really keen, and this blew my mind. So we met up for coffee a couple of times. I invited her to the Crossway Christmas production. She came to the Easter production this year. And then I invited her to Alpha. So for the past few weeks, she's been coming to Alpha and learning more about God. So I feel like this really showed me that God can use you even in times where you don't think he's really doing much. And for me, that was high school. I didn't think that I was a particularly outgoing person that was like evangelizing every lunchtime and every recess. I did have some things that I think I was intentional about though. Those things were using encouraging language. I knew that in high school I wanted to build other people up with my words and try not to swear or gossip. And another thing was that I wanted to be kind to everyone. So I just did what I thought I did well, which was remember people's names. So I just say hi to people in the yard and say hi to them in class. And those are the kind of things that I would do. Now, what inspired me to be intentional in high school was I had this sort of older friend who was a Christian, and she told me to really value the time that I had in school. She said that you've been placed in your school, in your group of friends, in your classes, in your sporting clubs for a reason. You are unique and you have your own special character. You have your own special way of communicating the gospel. And you have access to a specific group of friends. It's just you. And that's not a mistake, and God really, really wants to use that. So in church, I guess we talk about people of peace. Now, when I was in high school, I would not have thought that my friend, who later got in touch with me, I would have not have thought that she was a person of peace. She wasn't very open in high school. She had a specific way of doing things, and we weren't open about life. But then I got that message from her, and it was like God just plopped it in my lap and was like, here you go, she's ready now, go and do what you're meant to do. And I thought that was really, really cool. I didn't know that the stuff that I thought I was being intentional about in high school was still in my friend's mind 6 years on. Well, there you go, that's how long it's been. So it just made me think that it's not up to us to work in other people's lives and make them open to hearing about Jesus. That's God's job, and he will do that. And whether you know it or not, he will make a way. If he has someone that he wants you to reach out to and be that light, then he'll do it. So yeah, I just encourage you guys to be intentional right now, because now is the time and you never know what God is going to be doing.
That's awesome. Can we thank our panel for sharing tonight? Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, oh, why are we talking about schools again? Like, we've talked about it for a month. We've talked about it every year. Why do we always talk about this? Why do we always talk about living out our faith at school? As Anna shared about her story, we don't want you to miss your opportunity. You've been placed wherever you are, however your circumstances, you've been placed there. You've been placed in your school. You've been placed in your friendship group. And it wasn't by accident. God had a plan, and he placed you there. It wasn't just a random thing. It wasn't just an accident thing, but you are there for a reason. So that's our prayer, for you this entire month is don't miss that opportunity. Don't miss that opportunity. I'd like to read a couple of verses from Romans 10. And this is Paul. This is Paul writing to the church in Rome. And he says this, but how can they call on him? How can the people there call on Jesus to save them unless they believe in him? And how can they believe in him if they have never heard of him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? And how will anyone go and tell them without being sent? This is why the scripture says, how beautiful are the feet of messengers who bring good news. How's your friend who don't know Jesus going to know about Jesus? How are they going to believe in Jesus if they haven't heard of Jesus? And how are they going to hear about Jesus if you don't talk about it? Don't miss that opportunity. Don't miss, the 6 years or 5, 4, I don't know how, your last year in school. Don't miss that opportunity. So we end this night with, who's your one? That's our question. Who's your one?